Ladies and gentlemen, there will always be people in life who will hurt you. Sometimes the pain comes from strangers, but more often, it comes from the ones we trusted the most. It is not fair, it never feels fair, but it is real, and it happens to every single one of us. When someone breaks your heart, when they betray you, or when their words crush your spirit, you have two choices. Either carry that pain with you like a burden, or let it shape you into someone wiser, calmer, and stronger. When someone hurts you, your first instinct is to react. You want to scream. You want to ask why. You want to fight back. That reaction is natural. It comes from a place of shock and deep emotion. But reacting in the heat of pain often leads to more chaos. It gives your power away to the person who caused the pain in the first place. That is why it is important to pause and understand the difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is impulsive. It is fueled by emotion. When you react, your words might be sharp, your voice raised, and your heart racing. You are not thinking, you are just spilling out your pain, and sometimes what you say in that moment creates wounds that last longer than the original hurt. Reacting feels good for a moment, but it rarely brings peace. Responding, on the other hand, takes strength. It means you take a step back, you let yourself feel what you feel, but you do not let it control you. You breathe, you give yourself time, you let the storm settle before you speak or act. Responding is a choice, and it is always a wiser one. When you learn to respond, you become powerful, not because you control everything, but because you control yourself. You are not letting the pain hijack your peace. You are protecting your dignity, your energy, and your future. Responding allows you to speak from clarity, not from chaos. The truth is, you are not weak for being hurt. But you are strong when you choose not to let that hurt turn you into someone bitter. A response can be quiet. It can be walking away without explanation. It can be writing down everything you want to say, but never sending it. It can be deciding that the person who hurt you does not deserve to hear from you at all. Silence is also a response, and sometimes it is the loudest one. Another part of learning to respond is learning to understand what triggered you. Sometimes the pain someone causes touches an old wound, and if you are not aware of it, your reaction will be bigger than the situation. That is why taking a pause is so powerful. It lets you look at the pain, ask yourself where it is coming from, and deal with it in a way that brings you healing, not more harm. Responding also gives you back control. You are no longer letting others decide how your story goes. You are choosing your next move. You are not ignoring the pain. You are just deciding not to let it define your reaction. This takes practice. You will not get it right every time. Sometimes the pain will break through and you will react. That is okay. But the more you practice choosing response over reaction, the more peace you will feel inside. And one day, someone will try to hurt you, and you will simply smile, step back, and respond with strength instead of pain. That is when you will know you are healing. Forgiveness is a powerful tool. It is not for the person who hurt you, it is for you. When someone wrongs you, it is natural to feel anger, frustration, and even a deep sense of betrayal. These emotions are valid, but holding on to them for too long only keeps you trapped in the past. It can eat away at your peace, your happiness, and your overall well-being. Forgiveness does not erase what happened. It does not undo the pain or the betrayal, but it allows you to free yourself from the grip of resentment, bitterness, and anger. It is about healing, not for them, but for you. Forgiveness is not the same as condoning their actions. Just because you forgive someone does not mean you are telling them that what they did was okay. Forgiveness does not mean you allow them back into your life, especially if they are toxic or harmful. It does not mean you forget the hurt or pretend it never happened. Forgiveness is a conscious choice to release the hold that the pain has on you. It means letting go of the emotional burden and choosing to move forward. One of the hardest things about forgiveness is that it often feels like you are doing it for the other person, not yourself. You may feel like they don't deserve it, or that forgiving them means you are letting them off the hook. But here's the truth: holding on to anger and resentment only hurts you. The person who hurt you may have moved on, may not even be aware of the damage they caused, or may not care. Meanwhile, you are carrying the weight of their actions day after day. That burden takes up space in your heart and mind. It clouds your judgment, blocks your peace, and keeps you stuck. Forgiveness, however, allows you to take your power back. It gives you the freedom to move forward without carrying the past with you. It is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. It takes strength to let go of the pain, especially when that pain runs deep. It takes courage to forgive someone who has hurt you, especially when they may not even ask for your forgiveness. But remember, forgiveness is not about them. It is about you reclaiming your peace and your power. Forgiveness also allows you to release the negative emotions that can consume you. Anger, resentment, and hatred are heavy emotions. They drain you emotionally, physically, and mentally. When you hold on to these feelings, you are giving them control over your life. You are allowing them to dictate how you feel and how you respond to the world around you. By choosing to forgive, you take back that control. You choose peace over chaos. You choose love over hate. You choose healing over harm. The process of forgiveness can take time. It does not happen overnight, and it may not happen in one go. There may be moments when the pain resurfaces and you feel angry again. That's okay. Forgiveness is a journey, not a destination. It may take several attempts before you can truly forgive, but each time you choose to let go, you move closer to healing. Forgiveness is not always easy, and it is not always immediate, but it is a choice. It is something you can choose for yourself, regardless of what the other person does or does not do. You can forgive even if they never apologize. You can forgive even if they never change. Forgiveness is not about their actions. It is about your heart. When you forgive, you are choosing to release yourself from the grip of the past. You are choosing to no longer let their actions define your future. You are choosing to live in the present, not the past. Forgiveness is freedom. It is a gift you give yourself. It is the key that unlocks your peace and allows you to move forward without being held back by the chains of the past. Pain is inevitable in life. Everyone at some point will experience hurt, betrayal, or disappointment. However, the key to navigating this pain is understanding that it does not have to control you. Pain is a teacher, not a jailer. It is through pain that we grow, learn, and evolve into better versions of ourselves. We can allow pain to break us, or we can choose to use it as a stepping stone to become stronger and more resilient. It's all about perspective and how we choose to deal with the hurt we experience. When someone hurts you, it's easy to feel like the world is crashing down. The weight of the emotions you carry can feel unbearable, and you might question your worth, your choices, or your trust in others. But it's important to remember that this pain is a temporary feeling, and while it may take time to heal, it does not define you. Pain is a moment in your life, not your entire life. When you recognize this, you can start to see pain as an opportunity for growth rather than something that has the power to keep you stuck. When you encounter pain, you must ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What does this experience teach me about myself and others? Pain, in its raw form, can be difficult to navigate, but it often carries lessons that we wouldn't be able to learn otherwise. It teaches us what we will tolerate and what we won't. It shows us the areas of our life where we may need to set boundaries or reassess the people we allow into our personal space. In some ways, pain can be a catalyst for change, forcing you to reevaluate the relationships, situations, and habits that no longer serve you. Instead of allowing pain to become a scar that you carry around forever, it's important to let it be a teacher. Pain can teach you empathy, understanding, and patience. It can teach you how to be kinder to others because you've walked through a difficult time yourself. It can teach you the importance of self-care and how essential it is to nurture yourself when life becomes overwhelming. Most importantly, pain can teach you resilience, the ability to stand tall even when everything feels like it's falling apart. Using pain as a teacher also means not letting it consume you. Pain will not last forever unless you allow it to. By focusing on the lessons that come with the pain, you empower yourself to move forward. This is a critical aspect of personal growth. It's easy to get stuck in the cycle of hurt, resentment, and anger, but those emotions only drain you and prevent you from moving forward. When you allow pain to be your teacher, you shift the focus from the negative experience to the positive changes it can inspire within you. One of the most important aspects of using pain as a teacher is embracing forgiveness. Forgiveness does not mean you forget what happened or that you condone the actions of others. Forgiveness is simply releasing the hold that the situation has over you. It's choosing to let go of the emotional burden that weighs you down. By forgiving, you free yourself from the chains of the past, and in doing so, you create space for healing and growth. Holding on to anger or resentment only keeps you tied to the past, whereas forgiveness helps you move forward. Another way to use pain as a teacher is by accepting that sometimes pain is a part of the journey. It may not always feel fair, and it may not always make sense, but it is through these experiences that we discover our true strength. The human spirit is incredibly resilient, and often it is through the hardest moments that we find out just how strong we really are. Pain can reveal the depths of your courage and determination, even when you feel like giving up. It's through the struggle that you find your power. The journey from pain to growth is not always easy. It's okay to mourn, to feel hurt, and to take time to heal. But remember that pain is not the end of the road. It is the beginning of a new chapter. Every difficult experience can be transformed into something positive if you allow it to teach you. In the end, the pain you feel today can shape the strength, wisdom, and resilience you carry into tomorrow. It is all about how you choose to process it and use it as a foundation for a better future. When someone hurts you, it can feel like a deep personal attack. The pain is sharp, often leaving you questioning yourself, your actions, and sometimes even your worth. But it is essential to recognize that when someone else behaves badly, it says much more about them than it does about you. Hurt people, and their actions are often driven by their own unresolved issues, insecurities, or pain. It is critical to understand this distinction because it helps you separate their actions from your own sense of self. In those moments of hurt, you may feel like you are the one who is to blame, or that somehow their actions reflect something lacking in you. This is one of the most damaging thoughts you can entertain, because it shifts the responsibility from where it belongs. When people lash out or treat others poorly, it is usually because of their internal struggles, not because you deserve the mistreatment. They may not even realize how their behavior is affecting you. Sometimes the pain inflicted is unconscious, a projection of their fears or frustrations. Recognizing that their behavior reflects their issues, not your worth, helps you disassociate from the hurt. It allows you to look at their actions with compassion and understanding, rather than taking everything personally. When you take everything personally, you allow their negative behavior to dictate how you feel about yourself. This is where boundaries become critical. By setting clear emotional boundaries, you protect yourself from absorbing their negativity. It helps you see their actions for what they are, a reflection of their pain, and not a reflection of your character or value. Moreover, when you recognize that their behavior is more about them than about you, it becomes easier to let go of the resentment and bitterness that can weigh you down. Holding on to these negative emotions only keeps you tethered to their actions. When you allow someone else's bad behavior to affect your mood and mindset, you give them power over you. They control how you feel, even though they may not even be aware of the impact they have on you. This is where true freedom lies, in recognizing that you don't need their validation or approval to feel good about yourself. People who hurt others often have their own unresolved wounds, whether from childhood, past relationships, or unmet needs. This understanding can soften your reaction to their hurtful actions. You may still feel the pain of their words or actions, but you will begin to view them through a more compassionate lens. You realize that their hurtful behavior is a reflection of their own unresolved issues. It doesn't make their actions right, but it gives you perspective. Instead of taking their actions as an attack on your worth, you can see them as a cry for help, a sign that they are struggling with something much deeper than you could ever fully understand. This perspective shift doesn't mean you allow the person to continue hurting you. It doesn't mean you excuse their actions or make yourself a doormat. It simply means that you understand that their behavior is not about you, and by recognizing this, you free yourself from carrying the weight of their negativity. You can choose to step back, to protect your peace, and to not let their pain become your burden. You can still set boundaries and choose to distance yourself from toxic people without taking their actions personally. You don't have to internalize their behavior. Once you free yourself from the idea that their actions reflect something about you, you can start to heal. You can focus on your own emotional well-being and let go of the need to fix or change their behavior. You can focus on your own growth and healing. You can choose not to react in anger or hurt, but to respond with compassion for both yourself and them. In doing so, you reclaim your power, your peace, and your sense of self-worth. You no longer let their behavior define you. Instead, you choose to live in a way that reflects your values and not their actions. Understanding that hurt people is a form of self-care. It allows you to separate yourself from their negativity and protect your own peace. By letting go of the idea that their hurtful actions reflect your worth, you free yourself from the emotional weight of their behavior. You can respond with compassion and understanding, but you no longer carry the burden of their actions. You set yourself free, and in doing so, you allow yourself the space to heal and grow. Sometimes, silence is the loudest message you can give. When someone hurts you, your instinct might be to argue, explain, or demand an apology. You might feel compelled to make them understand your pain, or to prove that you are right. But there are times when the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing at all. Silence in the face of hurt is not weakness. It is a choice to preserve your energy and your peace. It is a statement of your self-respect, and it can be one of the most effective ways to take control of the situation. When you choose silence, you are giving yourself the space to process your emotions. Reacting immediately in anger or frustration can cloud your judgment and cause you to say things you might regret later. By choosing silence, you give yourself time to breathe, reflect, and gain perspective. You allow the initial sting of the hurt to fade so that you can respond, not out of hurt, but out of clarity. In the heat of the moment, emotions can run high, and it is easy to lash out. But silence acts as a barrier that keeps those raw emotions in check, giving you the chance to cool down and think about how you want to respond, if at all. Another reason why silence can be powerful is that it denies the person who hurt you the satisfaction of a reaction. When someone behaves in a hurtful way, they often want a response. Whether they are looking for an argument, an apology, or simply attention, giving them nothing takes away their power. It makes it clear that their words or actions do not have the power to affect you the way they might want them to. Silence is a way of protecting your energy. It's about showing that you are not going to engage in their drama, nor will you allow their negativity to disrupt your peace. It says that you are not interested in playing their game and you refuse to stoop to their level. In some cases, silence can also be a form of self-protection. There are situations where speaking up will only escalate the conflict or make things worse. When dealing with people who thrive on conflict or those who refuse to take responsibility for their actions, silence can be the wisest choice. You are not ignoring the issue, but rather choosing to remove yourself from the toxic dynamic. Silence allows you to detach emotionally and mentally from the situation, creating a boundary that prevents further harm. It helps you protect your peace, preventing you from getting dragged into a battle you don't need to fight. Sometimes, silence is not just a response to the person who hurt you, but also to yourself. It is a way to allow your mind and heart to heal. When you are constantly talking about your hurt, explaining yourself, or seeking validation from others, you can become trapped in a cycle of pain and resentment. Silence offers you the opportunity to let go of the need for external validation. You do not need someone else to recognize your pain in order for you to heal. Your healing is something that comes from within. Silence gives you the space to process what happened, to reflect on what you learned from the situation, and to decide how you want to move forward without the influence of others' opinions or judgments. Choosing silence also means understanding when speaking up would not bring resolution. There are moments when a person who has hurt you is not in a place where they are willing or able to listen. They may be defensive, dismissive, or unrepentant. In such cases, silence becomes a way of protecting yourself from further harm. It also helps you avoid falling into a cycle of trying to convince someone who is not open to hearing your perspective. When someone is not ready to listen, talking only increases the emotional toll on you, without achieving any positive outcome. Moreover, silence can serve as a way to maintain your dignity and self-respect. You do not need to justify yourself to people who refuse to acknowledge your worth. You do not need to explain your feelings to those who do not care to understand. Silence shows that you know your own value and do not need external validation to confirm it. It is a quiet act of defiance against those who try to diminish you, a way to stand strong without saying a word. Ultimately, silence is a form of strength, not passivity. It is a way of choosing your peace over the noise of conflict. It is an act of self-care, a means of protecting your emotional well-being. Silence is not always easy, especially when the hurt is deep, but it is often the most powerful way to regain control and protect your heart from further damage. By choosing silence, you are not allowing the other person to dictate your emotional state. You are taking the reins of your own life and refusing to be dragged into unnecessary conflict. Silence becomes a tool for reclaiming your power, maintaining your peace, and moving forward with grace. Letting go without seeking closure is one of the most liberating decisions you can make when someone hurts you. It is human nature to want answers, to seek resolution, to find closure in order to understand why something happened or why a person acted the way they did. We often feel that without closure we cannot fully heal, but the truth is, closure is not always something that comes from external sources. Sometimes it is something we have to give ourselves. It is not about waiting for an apology, an explanation, or some sort of validation from the person who hurt you. It is about finding peace within yourself, independent of others' actions. When you constantly seek closure from someone who has hurt you, you are giving them control over your emotional healing. You are waiting for them to acknowledge your pain, to offer an explanation, or to make things right. But often, that closure never comes, and it leaves you stuck in a cycle of waiting and wondering. The person who hurt you may not even recognize the hurt they caused, or they may not care enough to provide the closure you are seeking. When you rely on someone else for closure, you are essentially placing your emotional well-being in their hands, and that is not a position of power. You deserve to take control of your own healing, to move forward without needing others to validate your pain. Letting go without seeking closure requires you to accept that you may never get the answers you desire. It means letting go of the need to understand why someone hurt you, why they acted the way they did, or why they couldn't see your worth. You may never know the full story, and sometimes the reasons behind their actions may be more about their own issues than anything you did. By letting go of the need for closure, you free yourself from the weight of that uncertainty. You stop looking for explanations that may never come, and instead start focusing on your own emotional recovery. This is not to say that it is easy. Letting go is hard, especially when you feel that you are owed something, an apology, a conversation, or some form of acknowledgement. The need for closure can feel overwhelming, especially if you are struggling to make sense of the situation. But the truth is, closure does not always come from the other person. Sometimes the best closure you can get is when you decide that you no longer need them to fix things. You can choose to let go of the situation, let go of the pain, and choose to move on, even without the answers you think you need. Letting go without seeking closure also means accepting that healing takes time. It is a process that cannot be rushed or forced. Just because you choose to let go does not mean that you will immediately feel better. There will be moments of doubt, of second guessing yourself, and of longing for closure. But in those moments, you have to remind yourself that your peace is worth more than the answers you are seeking. You do not need to wait for someone else to give you the closure you deserve. You can create your own closure by choosing to release the situation, by choosing to stop rehashing the hurt, and by choosing to move forward. This process of letting go is not about forgetting what happened. It's about releasing the hold that the situation has on you. It's about accepting that you may never understand why someone treated you the way they did, and choosing to stop letting it dictate how you feel. By letting go, you allow yourself the space to heal, to grow, and to rediscover your sense of self. You stop letting the past weigh you down and start looking forward to the possibilities of the future. The beauty of letting go without closure is that it empowers you. It shows you that you do not need anyone else's validation to heal or move forward. You can reclaim your peace, your joy, and your strength, regardless of the person who hurt you or the answers you may never get. This is not about excusing the other person's behavior, nor is it about pretending that what happened didn't matter. It is about choosing to release the emotional grip that the situation has on you. You are taking control of your healing, and that is one of the most empowering decisions you can make. Letting go without seeking closure is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength. It requires emotional maturity and self-respect. It is an act of self-care, and it is one of the most profound ways you can take care of your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. It is about accepting that the past is behind you and that you have the power to move forward, with or without the answers you sought. The closure you are looking for may not come from anyone else. It will come from within. And once you let go, you will find that the peace and freedom you gain will far outweigh the need for closure. Growth is often born from the most difficult moments in life. When you face hardship, when you feel hurt or betrayed, it can feel like your world is falling apart. But these moments can be transformative if you allow them to shape you in a positive way. The key to growth through pain is not to deny the experience or avoid it, but to acknowledge it, learn from it, and use it to build a stronger version of yourself. Every challenge you face, every hurt you endure, and every loss you experience offers you the opportunity to grow. The first step in growing through pain is acceptance. It's natural to resist pain. It feels uncomfortable, unfair, and often overwhelming. But when you resist it, you prolong your suffering. Pain is a part of life. It is inevitable. But if you can learn to accept it as part of your journey, You open yourself up to the lessons it has to offer. Acceptance does not mean you are giving up or resigning yourself to a life of hurt. It means that you are no longer fighting against what is happening. You are acknowledging the reality of the situation, and by doing so, you allow yourself to move through it rather than staying stuck in it. Once you accept the pain, the next step is to reflect on it. Pain, as difficult as it is, carries valuable lessons. It can show you who you truly are, what you value, and what you are willing to tolerate. Sometimes, pain reveals the parts of yourself that need healing or strengthening. It forces you to confront your fears, your insecurities, and the things you have been avoiding. The hurt you feel is a reflection of your vulnerability, and by acknowledging this vulnerability, you become more self-aware. Through reflection, you can understand why you feel the way you do, and this understanding can lead to personal growth. It is in the moments of deep pain that you discover your true strength and resilience. As you reflect, it is essential to shift your mindset from one of victimhood to one of empowerment. When you're hurting, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that life is unfair, that people have wronged you, and that you are helpless. But you are never powerless. Pain can make you feel small, but it also gives you the opportunity to rise up and show the world your true strength. Growth comes from realizing that you are in control of how you respond to the pain you face. You can choose to let it break you, or you can choose to let it build you. This decision is entirely in your hands. You are the one who gets to decide how your story will unfold. Growth also comes from learning how to let go. Holding on to pain, anger, and resentment keeps you stuck. It anchors you in the past, preventing you from moving forward. When you hold on to negative emotions, you continue to give power to the people or situations that hurt you. Letting go is a powerful act of self-liberation. It does not mean that you forget what happened, nor does it mean that you excuse the actions of others. It simply means that you are no longer allowing the past to control your present. By letting go, you free yourself from the weight of the hurt and make space for healing and new experiences. You take back control of your own life and create room for growth. Through the process of growth, you also learn the importance of self-compassion. Often, when we face pain, we turn our frustrations inward. We blame ourselves, we criticize ourselves, and we feel as though we are not strong enough to overcome the hurt. But self-compassion is essential for healing. It's about treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would show a friend going through a tough time. It's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to feel vulnerable. What matters is that you don't judge yourself for it. You are human, and you are doing the best you can. Self-compassion allows you to be kind to yourself as you navigate through the challenges of life, and it helps you build the inner strength you need to grow. Lastly, growth requires patience. Healing and growth take time. You won't wake up one day completely healed or changed. It is a gradual process, one that requires time, effort, and consistency. There will be setbacks. There will be days when you feel like you haven't made any progress. But every step forward, no matter how small, is progress. Remember, growth is not linear. There will be highs and lows, and that is completely normal. What matters is that you continue moving forward, even if the progress feels slow. Over time, you will look back and realize just how far you've come. Growth, like healing, happens one day at a time. Growth through pain is not easy, but it is one of the most rewarding experiences you can have. It teaches you resilience, strength, and self-awareness. It allows you to become the person you are meant to be, someone who can face adversity with courage and grace. While pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. How you respond to the pain you face is what defines you. Choose to grow, choose to learn, and choose to become stronger with each challenge you overcome. Setting clear emotional boundaries is one of the most important steps in protecting yourself when you've been hurt. Boundaries are not about building walls to keep people out. They are about knowing what you will and won't tolerate in your relationships. They are a way to protect your mental, emotional, and physical well-being, ensuring that others cannot cross lines that harm you. When you don't have boundaries, you allow others to take from you without giving anything back, and that is how you end up feeling drained, abused, and resentful. But boundaries allow you to stand firm in your own space and remind others that your peace is not something to be taken lightly. Boundaries are not selfish, they are necessary. Often, people may try to convince you that you are being too harsh or unreasonable when you set boundaries. They may try to make you feel guilty for prioritizing your own well-being. But the truth is, if you don't set boundaries, you teach people that they can treat you however they want. You give them permission to overstep, take advantage, and cause harm. By not having boundaries, you are putting your own needs last. And over time, this neglect can lead to a breakdown in your self-worth and your mental health. A major part of setting boundaries is understanding what you need in order to feel safe and respected. This requires self-awareness and a willingness to be honest with yourself about what you are willing to accept and what you are not. For some, this may mean saying no to people who demand too much of your time or energy. For others, it might mean creating physical space between you and someone who causes emotional harm. Whatever the case, boundaries give you the power to say, "I am not okay with this," and to protect your peace. Another important aspect of boundaries is consistency. It's not enough to set boundaries once and expect them to be respected forever. You have to be consistent in enforcing them. When someone crosses a boundary, it's important to address it immediately, even if it feels uncomfortable. The more you allow others to cross your boundaries without consequence, the more you teach them that their behavior is acceptable. By being consistent in enforcing your boundaries, you reinforce the message that you value yourself and expect to be treated with respect. Boundaries also help you define your relationships. When you set clear emotional boundaries, you create space for healthier, more balanced connections. You no longer tolerate toxic dynamics or allow people to drain your energy. Instead, you build relationships where both parties respect each other's limits and contribute positively to each other's lives. This doesn't mean that everyone in your life has to agree with every decision you make, but it does mean that they will understand and respect your need for space and emotional safety. Setting boundaries also involves recognizing when it's time to walk away from people or situations that continually disrespect your boundaries. It can be incredibly difficult to let go of people you care about. But if someone repeatedly crosses your boundaries without regard for your feelings, it may be necessary to distance yourself. Walking away does not make you weak. It makes you strong because you are choosing to protect your peace over preserving a relationship that is harming you. Walking away is not about punishment. It's about taking control of your own life and making decisions that benefit your emotional well-being. In the process of setting emotional boundaries, it's important to remember that you are not responsible for the actions of others. Just because someone is upset or angry, because you've set a boundary, does not mean you need to apologize or change your decision. People may try to manipulate you into thinking you are being unreasonable or unfair, but you have to remember that your emotional safety and peace of mind should always come first. Setting boundaries is about putting yourself in a position where you can thrive, where you can heal, and where you can grow without being constantly weighed down by the needs and demands of others. The process of setting boundaries is ongoing. It may take time to get used to asserting yourself and communicating your needs clearly. It may take practice to stand firm when others try to push past your limits, But with time, you will find that setting boundaries becomes a natural part of your interactions with others. You will start to realize that boundaries are not about restricting others, but about giving you the freedom to live your life authentically, without compromising your mental, emotional, and physical well-being. When you start setting and respecting boundaries, you will start to see how much more peaceful, balanced, and fulfilling your life can be.